Okay, guys, welcome back with a quick reboot. I am here back on the part two, joined with SharmanSheer Idika, all the way from Nigeria, and we're talking more healing, grounding, removing stagnant energy, plants that we burn, and so much more. So let's welcome him back. Let's wait for him to join the live. I'll just notify him that I'm back on the live. Yeah. Which is why I say this Instagram apps need constant updating. You could have updated it 2 weeks ago and it's still going to require updates. And when you don't update, whether you're a viewer or participant, you're going to have issues logging on. I had to reboot my whole system once again and relog on to eliminate any echoing on the recording. Thank you, guys. Let's wait for our guest to pull up. See? Right, here we go. Let's just wait for him to pull up. I think that should be a lot better. You have to constantly be rebooting and updating these apps, even if you've done it 10 days ago. It's ridiculous. But guys, please keep me informed if there's any technical issues that you could see. I appreciate that. Let's wait for him to pull up and we can get straight back into it. Yes, thank you. Because I could hear myself like echoing. All right, let's go. Thank you. I just told to reboot the whole thing and it seems a lot better and brighter. So thank you. So just to recap, we were talking about, we're still talking about grounding, guys, for those who watched the part one. And Adika's talking about different ways of grounding. Again, I touch on water grounding, stand grounding, keeping your feet on your body close to the earth, even being nude and being embodying yourself as one. And then we're talking about plants. So I mentioned sage, which Adika knows about, and I mentioned Palo Santo and rosemary and lavender and so much more. But Adika says some of these are like Western, obviously, traditions, which it is. But you see some of these, let's say like this, it may not be an African tradition, but it won't be classified as Western. Some of these could be like deep Asian traditions. You know, like when you watch a lot of documentaries, yeah, you see. So we've got to be mindful not to kind of minimize other people's traditions because just because it's not Africa doesn't mean it's not. It doesn't mean it's Western. You know, so some things are going to be Western, but a lot of these herbs, even if African, even if it's not traditional African and it's not as strong as African way of life, which we know, you can go into deep Asia, and they will have they will. This is the bark Palo Santo, the bark of the tree. You know, and so yeah, we kind of got to like appreciate whether it's Mexican, whether it's Indian, whether it's like there's always everyone's got their tradition, and we've got to respect all of them. You know, we combined all traditions. Like it's like spices, what we cook with. It's not just African spice. Maggi cube is going to be Indian, turmeric, cumin, black pepper, and it comes from all different parts of the world that make a wonderful stew or wonderful Caribbean dish. So different cultures bring their traditions, and it's a lot of it is even if it's deep Egyptian, you know. So yeah, we've got to appreciate them all, even though we know Africa is the one, you know.
Yes. In
Yeah.
Africa, we rather burn the red wood.
So it's called, what is
Yeah,
it called? Redwood.
it's called the OD tree. That is what we see as spiritual tree, not
Okay.
not the one you're holding.
Not Palo Santo, not this like thing. He wants to
Mm,
say. He wants to say not this light stuff he's showing me.
I
Yeah.
actually, I actually have it here, but I have to get up from where I am to show you.
Well, if you
So
want to, you can. And what you're welcome if it's not
just,
too much
just,
inconvenience.
just a minute.
Sure, sure. So while Dika's going to look for his herbs, Guys, what do you like? What herbs do you tend to put? Do you burn bay leaves? You know, do you burn sage? You know, you have different sages. You know, you have the black sage, which allegedly enhances your psychic abilities. Did you know that? You got the red dragon's blood. I should have brought my one. You got the red one, which is I don't use that. I've not touched it yet. Shall I? Ah, it's not red, is it? Is it supposed to be red?
Is a redwood.
Ah, so you burn this, and
It's
this is a
kind
part
of
of
it's
grounding.
very dry. Yes, you can ground it. You can use it to bed. You can put it. You can infuse it into your soup. You can
Mm.
also yes. You can also just burn it.
Is that would that be like as we say to have a meditation and grounding, or can that be also to purify, to dispel negative energy? Can it be for everything? Yeah.
It works
Okay.
for everything. It works for everything. You see this wood here?
Mm-hmm.
A bird doesn't perch on it.
And what do you
The
call it?
tree.
Remind me the name.
In my language we call it the anonoebe, but in
Okay, I've
English
never
it
heard
is
it.
called the odile tree.
I'm gonna look that up. Very interesting. Okay. So can we
The
get that in the
odile.
UK? Can we get that in London?
You can see it in Yoruba shop. It's called ebo opo.
Mm.
Ebo opo in Yoruba. It's called ebo opo.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
interesting. So this is what
is
you
one of the
use.
yes.
Hmm. You mentioned
It's
sage. You mentioned sage before. So that means, as you mentioned, that as the only kind of bush that we know as well.
and
Would you see that as Western? Because you meant, or do you see that as? Do you use sage?
I use sage because I understand the spiritual aspect of it, but it's borrowed. It's not African. In Africa, we
Aha.
use the foot grass instead of sage.
Mm.
We
So,
use the foot grass.
so you know, you have different
Probably
sages. The black sage,
yes.
allegedly, they say helps psychic abilities. Like the different sages.
Mm.
What do you know about the different types of sages?
It is not. I don't use all
Oh,
those
okay.
kind of herbs. If you ask me about African leaves, African herbs, I can tell you many.
Yeah, tell us about that then. Tell us what we don't know. We want to, that's what we want to know as well. So please feel free.
Okay, number one is the foot grass, especially when you want to ward off stagnant
Mm-hmm.
energy within you. You use the foot grass. Probably maybe in our next, probably in the next life, I will try to arrange it and get it to the life so that a lot of
That'll
us
be
will understand
amazing.
what
Mm-hmm.
the foot grass means. It looks like the more grass, but it's not.
Mm. Okay.
It's different. So that grass is very, very important when it comes to African
Mm.
spirituality because you can use it to do so many things,
Would that
so
be
many
would that be
great energy.
the light and the dark work when you say so many
Yes,
things? Yeah.
both
Okay.
both both dark and light. Another one is the hibiscus.
That I've
Hibiscus
heard of.
flower. Yes, hibiscus flower is very powerful. You can drink it. It reduces
Yeah.
anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hmm.
yeah, you can also burn the dry one. It also helps to channel you in meditation and all that, and it will also
Mm-hmm.
help you remove blocked vision.
So remove the fog, the cloudiness, the fogginess, and lifting that. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
it gets your vision clearer, especially when you dream. You get to recognize what you've dreamt about. Hibiscus
Mm-hmm.
is very, very
Discuss.
okay for that. So another one is this African cherry. What is it? African star apple? The leaves.
Mm. Okay.
The African star apple leaf. They can use it to tie somebody down, and they can use it to release the person.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna get into that straight after this part here. Yeah. Okay. It's you know
So that
we
leaf.
wish we can have more of the herbs that is
Mm,
traditional. to get it in
Yes.
the UK. Somebody must be able to, but you know, and I know some of these herbs, maybe even if we travel to Africa, some of them we probably would not even be allowed to even cross the border with, but some we can.
Yes.
You know, like some people can bring sea moss back or whatever, just natural things. But it would be nice if we
Yes.
could get some of these herbs, even the wood that you're speaking of. It'd be interesting to see whether some African shops, which is probably South
Yes.
London, you can get that.
Yes. This African style apple, the stem, like when you get the stem like this, when you burn it, it's highly spiritual. The
Mm,
the 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 ash can be used for betting, especially when somebody is possessed of some kind of high energy. So
mm.
you burn the ash and you use the ash to rub on them, and then you prepare some kind of soap you use to bed them off later.
Can I fine tune that? You said that's used for people with high energy. Can you elaborate on why high energy will be seen as a negative? Why they would want to work something to calm it? Explain a bit more about that.
Okay, what I mean by that is when they say somebody is mad, somebody
Right.
is
So
going
someone with
crazy.
okay.
So
So like,
in aspect of spirituality, is not actually going crazy. They are just in another frequency.
can I ask something very, very interesting? As you're right there, it's brought something back to me that I've been meaning to ask you.
Mm.
There's a very, very insightful man that does a lot of podcasts. He's all over media. I don't know his name, but I've got him on my page. And he said that for many people that hit a level of spirituality and frequency, he feels it's a very thin line between that realm and psychosis.
Yes,
And he was talking about the dark side of spirituality that no one talks about. And people may think some people's going mad, but they're not mad. They're just in a different realm.
yes, is a
Whether it's
different
5D
that.
or whatever it is they want to call it. Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes,
what's your thoughts on that?
spirituality
Have you
is
touched on
sanity.
that? Mm-hmm.
Like me, I've
Mm-hmm.
actually had a lot of people very close to me discuss that I'm going crazy,
Oh,
you know. But
is
that
that
is
because you are more and more enlightened and they no longer can resonate with you?
yes,
So
because
what they don't
when I
understand, they call foolish. They don't understand.
yes, because
Yeah.
when I speak, I don't make sense to them. They see it, I'm not making sense, but it's
To
actually
them.
them.
To them though.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, to them, yes. So
Yeah.
um, they don't understand that they are the ones who is not being as in they can connect to it.
Awaken. Awoken.
Yes, they can receive the energy because people tend to misunderstand something. If you have to have an understanding of something, that doesn't mean you have understanding of it, because the
Come on now.
understanding
Talk to
comes
me. Mm-hmm.
when the spirit is in some certain frequency. So now, when people
Mm-hmm.
speak generally, you have a particular perspective and the real meaning of what is being said.
That's
So
perfect. I love that you said that.
a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people lack that line.
So
So
they
when
so,
they
so, so
lack,
they understand, but they don't understand
no,
or overstand, as we say.
yes,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
they don't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there are people who, if you're discussing with them, like this conversation we're having now,
Mm-hmm.
you see that we are flowing. It's just like chorus.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
we are walking on this conversation.
Mm-hmm.
We are working on them. You know, we are walking, we're flowing on it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you bring somebody who is spiritually blinded, who've never
Mm-hmm.
been awoken,
They're not
the
activated in any
person,
way.
yes,
Activated. Mm-hmm.
the person will not find anything meaningful in what we are discussing.
You know, let me share something with you on that point. As beings, whether it's your parents, your siblings, and especially your partner and children, and especially friends, everybody around us, sometimes we for a while we have this fight. They don't understand us. They don't understand. Sometimes you can actually cause distress and depression on yourself because you want to be understood so much. Because let's be honest, who doesn't want to be understood? Who doesn't want to be understood or accepted or, but you know something? I've come to this slow acceptance that even if it's your partner you've been with for 100 years, some things is not for them to understand. Some things is not their path to understand, but we can accept.
But you know that when a person is spiritually enlightened and everybody around you is not spiritually enlightened, even if they are your husband or your wife, it will affect the relationship.
And that's why a lot of us live a very solitude life.
Yes. So that is why if you have to be spiritual and also be with someone, it has to be someone you people are working on the same frequency.
That's a hard one, though, Idika.
If it's anything lower than that, that relationship can never work.
You're right, but you know what's hard about that? And that's why acceptance is important, if you can receive it. Two people, you may have so much in common, but in some area there's going to be a discord because you're different. Your path is not, you'll be lucky if you find, maybe you call it a twin flame, I don't know what you call it. I don't really use the word soulmate too much, but whatever you want to call it. I may be with somebody in some parts of spirituality. I'm not echoing, am I? Okay. In some parts of spirituality, we may be like this.
Yes.
In some parts of, imagine if me and you were dating, okay? Respectfully to your partner. Imagine if we were dating. Me and you can have this talk. But if you was with someone who was even heightened in life and your conversation would be on the next level. I've watched your lives. I've watched many of your talks. So you may have to water some things down or even adapt according to who you're speaking to. Okay. But when we meet new people, we test the waters. We test, because I may say something to somebody so mild. And they're like, what are you talking about? And it's okay. It doesn't make you stupid. It doesn't make you dumb.
Yes.
We just don't vibrate in this subject. So I talk to you about something else. But the beautiful thing is that even if you don't understand what someone's saying, if you care about the person at all, even if it's your colleague, at least pay interest to try to understand. Even if you don't understand, you can even ask questions. And that's why I've always got on with people from different religions. I never argue because I always seek to understand. We don't need to fight or fall out. So we share information and we understand each other.
It's about being open-minded because there are pieces of information being scattered everywhere.
Right.
So if you let me give example. I was scrolling on TikTok one day and I stumbled into this program. There were a lot of youths, African youths. They're discussing about religion and how it's affecting us, and they were talking about everything. And I just made a comment: Jesus Christ is not actually alive. The guy blocked me immediately. I was blocked.
So you didn't want to hear
immediately.
any other perspective. You didn't want to hear no other perspective.
No,
you can't talk to people like that.
Yes, that was as in, I was shocked.
Wow.
If it was me, if I was the one in that position, I wouldn't act like that because I'm open-minded.
But you know something? Can I just add? You see social media. Social media, when you go in someone's inbox, you have to think 5 times before you put a comment. Because people can be so nasty and aggressive, okay? So I can leave a comment on your page, which is for you. Somebody else can be triggered and come with something nasty to respond to me when they could have just left my comment alone.
Yes.
Yeah. So social media, it's very sensitive.
Yes. When the anger is still within it, it's not spirituality. Because it is about understanding your triggers and never act on them.
Interesting. Yeah.
So a lot of people who are walking this spiritual journey don't even understand that. You know,
But
you
there's a
have
lot of spiritual superiority going on, and there's a lot of posts that speak about that.
yes,
The more people understand, they're becoming quite puffed up. And see, what the worst kind of person to me is when you are enlightened, but you
mm.
think you're so high.
No,
There's no
spirituality
spiritual
doesn't come
humbleness
with
inside of you
ego.
anymore.
It doesn't come with ego. But normally, when a man is having information,
Mm-hmm.
when information comes in, information comes with ego. Why? Because when you have
Mm-hmm.
an information you think that no one else have, they have ego. That is when you have the ego
Okay.
because it's not naturally coming to them. But when an
Mm.
information naturally comes to you, spiritually you're initiated. That is why in Africa there is a process of initiation you have to do with your soul, with your spirit. You must go through this initiation.
Talk
So
to us
when you
about
go
that.
through,
Give us, tell us what that's about. Give us a step by step of what is the spiritual
yes,
initiation
well,
that you do for yourself.
when I was young, my dad initiated me into the
Mm-hmm.
African way of spirituality. So you have to sleep in the bush. You have to. They will test your spiritual capability in a way
Did you sleep by
meditating.
yourself?
Yes, there are so many people, but you have to make your own way. You sleep on your own path. You know, later they gather everyone, they play music for you. So we dance, dance. You dance till you collapse.
What age were you? What was your age at that time?
I was like 10 or between
Okay.
10 and 13. I was between
Mm-hmm.
10 and 13 at that moment. And
Okay.
after this, my dad died like 5 years later.
Mm. So do
You know,
you have to
so
pass a certain test when you're being initiated and when you're being tested? Who is
mm,
it down to? Very important question. Who is it down to
yes,
say that you have passed the test?
yes, that is where the spirituality comes to determine that
Mm-hmm.
a person have actually connected to their inner self. They will ask you a question because they will play music for us. We eat things we got from the bush, no food
Oh, so
coming from the outside.
survival. Mm.
Our mother will not bring food for us, so we
Survival.
have to fend. Yes, we have to fend for ourselves in the bush. So there are people who are our
Mm.
elder there who instruct us on what to do, how to do this thing. When it's time for this, we do it. So during the time of dancing is actually the last day, the last night. So that night you have to dance till you collapse.
Wow.
So when you dance,
This is Nigerian traditions, isn't it? Yeah.
this is our tradition. I'm telling you about.
Amazing.
This is
Okay.
our process of initiation. It takes
Mm-hmm.
21 days in the
Oh,
bush.
wow. Wow.
Yes, yes, and they position it in a way that it aligns within you inside. So when you're
Mm-hmm.
dancing and you collapse, you only remember when you collapse. You don't remember the other incidents. So in the
Mm-hmm.
morning, they will gather us, invite us inside a dark room with elders.
Oh,
So when you
wow.
come in, you will be asked, "What did you see? What did you see?"
And what did you see? Tell me.
Okay. Now, that initiation actually happens within, but what they are doing is to initiate the spirit. So you have to see yourself being initiated in this spiritual aspect with your
Mm.
ancestors that are not there present. So you must
Mm-hmm.
see your ancestors who have lived in the past, who have not come to initiate you into that knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So they will ask you what you were told by one of them, which I'm not going to say live because it
No,
will be
no,
me
that's some things you got to
going
keep to
against
yourself.
my oath.
Yeah.
Yes.
I understand that fully. Fully. You
So
can't, yeah.
a lot of people who are talking about spirituality these days didn't go through all these things.
But let me put this to you. As we know, spirituality is not religion, okay, guys, as we know. But I do think, and this is me kind of balancing out a little bit of what you're saying to me as well. I don't think, based on spirituality being an individual journey and experience, I do think one must be mindful not to minimize other people's spiritual journeys and empowerment because they didn't go through your tradition. Remember, we spoke the last time I said, your tradition, hear me out. If I lived in Asia, imagine I lived in deep South India, okay? And that's the
Go
part of being
ahead.
humble as well. And I must say that because there are, let's say you're very knowledgeable. Let's say somebody else who lived in South Asia was on the same level as you or even more advanced. You have another man who's in Mexico. You have another man who's in Haiti. You have a man who's in Dominica. And maybe a man who's from Jamaica. So many countries. And they could be on your level and so much higher. And they didn't need to go through your thing, but they still are deeply spiritual. So we got to look at the difference between culture and spirituality. Do you understand? So, and that's very important to say. So if someone's not from Nigeria and they haven't gone through all these initiations, we can't say, well, they don't know what it's like to be spiritual. That would be so inaccurate for me to allow that to be said on this live.
You know, when I say initiation, it kind of puts your thoughts into religion. When I say
no,
spiritual
it doesn't. I
initiation,
was separating. No. Don't misunderstand me. The
okay,
reason why I use the word religion. Okay, go on.
Let me explain something in case of
Okay,
the
sure.
people who are watching.
Mm-hmm.
You see, in African spirituality, there is nothing like religion attached to African spirituality. And when I say African spirituality, it's not the one they are practicing now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
African spirituality is about finding self. And in order for you to find self, there are elders who have been there who also use this same process to help a person find themselves. So if you go to Asia, I've met some shaman from Asia who also have a mentor.
Yeah.
And from the mentor have to put them in some certain process, which is also very similar to what I went through in Africa.
Do you think that, let me ask this, because sometimes when I'm saying things to guests, it's because I may understand, but I also need other people to hear you say it. So I have to sometimes ask questions that I know the answer to, but so that they can also, hear me elaborating with you. Initiation wouldn't be for everybody, maybe for practitioners often, yeah? For example, a lot of practitioners would be initiated, yeah? Or if someone's a shaman or someone's a priestess. But let's just say someone who is deeply connected to themselves, deeply spiritual within their own practitioner work. Do you feel like they have to be initiated to call themselves truly spiritual?
With what I went through, is actually finding a part of yourself, which means
I get that. I accept that your experience. Absolutely.
Some people can be initiated through hard times.
Talk to me now.
Because what
do you
I
understand
went
why I'm
through,
pushing you in this conversation?
Yes,
people can't.
yes.
I don't want people leaving this live. Hear me out. Thinking, oh, I have to be initiated in Africa for me to feel like I'm really spiritual. No, that's not correct. If you're talking about African spirituality from Nigeria, yes.
Initiation is for everyone.
Okay,
but you have to put yourself in some certain way in order to gain that spiritual initiation.
1,000%.
Which is being forced on you by the African tradition. So they have to force you into that path so you can find it earlier.
So let me ask you a relevant question. Do you feel if someone isn't practicing, this is so important because it'd be really interesting to see your point on this. Would you say that if someone is not practicing authentic African spirituality, you don't really classify them as very spiritual at all?
No, that
Okay.
I don't think like that. Why?
I
Because
wanted to fine
I
tune that. Make sure, yeah, because that would
like
be incorrect.
me, somebody like me, eh? I didn't
Mm-hmm.
just I'm not the kind of person who will come into a kind of setting and I will be carried away. I look at the
Mm-hmm.
details of things, and I
Absolutely.
also ask myself, why are they doing this? Why is this thing
So
being done?
you
So
question.
yes, the
Important,
question is
yeah?
important. It's
Mm-hmm.
very, very important.
To understand.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
yes. So now, if you look at it, you see that we are resonating when it comes to vibration. So we are
Mm-hmm.
speaking the same thing. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that is how consciousness works.
Mm-hmm.
When you somebody can be initiated through what they are going through in life.
Honey, I've lived it. That's why I'm challenging.
Yes. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever you've been through in life can push you into spiritual initiation.
Oh my
Why?
goodness, yeah.
Because naturally the universe is pushing you into a particular kind of condition that will force you into that awakening.
100%. And those,
But
you know, those who've
it's
lived it will know that you're talking facts because I've lived it.
yes, because it's still initiation. That is
Now
why
we're
I
talking.
generalize it that it's initiation. Just
Mm-hmm.
because we have to follow some kind of culture, way of
Yeah, it doesn't make it. Yeah.
life and all that, doesn't make it necessarily that somebody who doesn't follow the same cannot be awoken. No, because
This
the
is what I need to
spiritual
make very clear.
initiation is the
Yeah.
same.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, even during the time you stepped into that awakening, you must have had this dream about your ancestors. They must visit you.
Mm-hmm.
It's a must. So some people will have this dream about some other people visiting them, telling them things, or being together in a dream and all that, seeing some elder or seeing some old woman or old man in a dream.
What
That
if they
is how
what
the
if they don't
initiation.
see that? I don't think I've seen that specifically, but I've had other experiences.
You might see it differently. You might even see it by just um, maybe your subconsciousness is just showing you a plant or a
Ah,
tree.
okay.
So many
In
people
different
see
ways.
it. So yes, different ways. It might
Mm-hmm.
just be you holding a broken plate or egg.
Oh
So
wow.
many people is egg because egg is very very rampant. A lot of people see egg. So
Mm.
yes, a lot of people see egg. Many people that I've come across, their own is just eggs.
Wow.
Some people they see fruits.
Is that while they're dreaming or is that while they're asleep?
While you are sleeping, you see the fruit. You see plants, you see trees, you see maybe some kind of vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, those are you aligning with nature. So if you check very well, probably maybe within that period, the person would notice seeing themselves repeatedly, maybe in a bush.
Mm.
Some people, their awakening is just them walking in the middle of a forest. You see
So
yourself
so mine
wallowing
could
in a
be like
forest.
the doorbell. Remember I kept telling you about the doorbell at a certain time of the morning,
Yes,
a doorbell, and
yes,
I'm asleep, but
is
I keep waking up thinking I've heard a doorbell, but it's not the doorbell's within my with consciousness or whatever, but it's no one really at my
yes,
door, but it sounds like a doorbell.
yes. You remember I told you before that the doorbell can also be awakening
You
because
did
it's
say that,
opening
and I
a
never thought
door
about it
into
like that.
something. It's
Mm-hmm.
opening a door into something. So many people have different
Mm-hmm.
types. We have different types of it. Some like
Mm-hmm.
me, if I see masquerades anytime I'm about to tap into a different kind of knowledge. I'll
Mm-hmm.
see masquerade, my traditional masquerade. Once I
Oh
see it,
wow.
I will know that yes, there's some kind of knowledge I'm about to step into. And then if I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting down and I look at some certain place, maybe in a dark area, and I see a masquerade, I know that if the masquerade comes close to me, I know that there is some danger in the future. So I will have to do divination to check the kind of danger it is.
Okay.
But if the masquerade is dancing in that, I'm talking about like now, my eyes is open.
Ah,
I'm
I
not talking
understand
about
fully.
sleep
Not when
now,
you're
you know.
sleeping, right? So you have like a
Yes,
vision. You have like a vision, maybe you call it, or
yes,
yeah.
yes,
Hmm.
yes. So a lot of people have different types, you know. Like maybe I'm sitting in a particular crowded area and probably something bad is about to happen there. I will see a masquerade.
So okay, so you're clear about your symbolizations. I'm really, as we go on to the
Yes,
next part of this conversation, I'm really glad that in the midst of each topic we go somewhere else to come back to the point, and I like that
yes,
because it expands. And you know what? I'm glad that we spoke about initiation, because even if I challenge some parts about it, which is really to expand it, to be honest.
yes.
Yeah. If I sit there, then nobody can, we don't get people thinking as much as well. Just, elaborate. But I'm glad you
the
used that
the the
word.
initiation, we can talk about it. We can talk about only initiation all through this night.
Oh,
It's
100%. But the
fast.
reason why I'm glad that you use that word, even if I challenged a part of it, is because I would have never have thought about. Are you there? You froze a little bit on me.
Yes, I'm
Are
here.
you there?
You're
Okay. I
frozen.
would have never
Yes,
have thought about um, life or circumstances initiating. I would never have seen it like that. I would have just seen it as crazy time, hard time, challenging time. But yet, these specific bizarre experiences I've had in the last maybe 2, 3 years ago changed me and elevated me through what I experienced. And I got deeper
yes,
into spirituality. By far, there's things I wouldn't have done, there's herbs I wouldn't have
yes.
dealt with, there's practices I would never. I just be praying my Psalms. Psalms 23, the Lord is my shepherd. And but Spirit was like, girl, fire and water, that is not enough. We need you to get to work. Yeah, a sister who's
Yes,
very good mentor, she's like, you're gonna need to get to work for this one.
yes, yes.
So
Because
you're so right. I'm glad you shared that because now I can reflect on, was that an initiation of just life circumstances or something happen, or ancestors allowing things to happen so that I can be put through those fears or something.
yes, because this thing, if actually people are given the right information, there wouldn't be a need joining the society,
Yes,
because
yes.
they just have to put you in some certain conditioning for you to step into that awakening path.
My brother, most of us couldn't even think about being in the bush, even at my age, in the nighttime, let alone when you was little. So you're right about that. The biggest
Yes.
spiritual person, even now on YouTube, tell them to go in the bush for 21 days. They're not going.
The condition is too much, because
They'll be scared.
sometimes, yes, the where shall we don't talk about it, but it's just the experience is
Yeah.
nice, is wonderful, because the worst part of it is you have to fast. Everything you eat is limited.
So it's a whole discipline. It's a whole discipline.
Yes, it's the whole
Hmm.
discipline.
Hmm. Well, I know
It's the
some
whole
things are
discipline.
very sacred that one must not talk about, but I'm glad you shared that part. So let's move on to the
Yes.
next topic. Yeah, a part of our category. As we're on this part, it makes sense to go into how people can identify if they've had someone put a curse or hex or spirit on them. And then we can look at how can people work on removing it, either independently or going to someone who can assist. Now, the reason why this is also important part. Often, if someone's been trying and trying and trying to get their dream job, dream wife, dream this or house, whatever it is, they may say, you know what, someone put something on me. Everything is down to someone put something on me. Or you can't identify illness or a skin condition, someone put something on me. And sometimes it's the case. Even if you're living in London, we talk about these things a lot as well, UK. But how can they be sure? How can they truly identify if someone has put, give it, I know you won't know every situation, but maybe you can give us some small examples.
You know, what you're talking about, the worst situation is when the person doesn't have the ability, or maybe their subconscious can't tell them, because whatever happens to your life, or maybe somebody is doing that to you, your spiritual aspect will gossip to you. That is the work. That is what your
It's an
spiritual aspect is
interesting
doing.
term.
Immediately, it will gossip to you that this is what is going on. This is not ordinary. Even if it's not pointing fingers, but your subconscious would directly tell you that this is not ordinary, that you need to do something.
Or a
So
typical one is someone who has multiple marriage, none works out, or you keep trying new partners, nothing, no relationship works out, or there's so many categories of
that
people that I've spoken to that think someone's done something to them because they can't understand why it's not
no,
working out.
when something like that happens, that is when you need to think about karmic also.
Timing
Because
or calming? Did you say?
karmic,
Can you? Okay.
karmic,
Okay.
because whatever you have given to somebody, you will also, there will also be a time you will be on the receiving side to pay for that debt. Okay, that is why I always tell people it's bad to make promises. Like when you are in love with someone, you say, I will love you to the end of my life. Why? Because your life doesn't end now. People don't understand that.
I always tell people
They,
not to say that. You can't speak for forever
yes,
anyway.
when you speak, you're speaking from your aspect that is eternal. It doesn't experience death. So when you say, I will love you till next life, I will love you till the end of my life. Many people think is actually it ends when they die. No, because the aspect of you that speaks out that sound, that vibration, is actually eternal.
So
So
is
when you
that
come
how
to,
people manifest soul ties for themselves, or soul contracts to themselves?
yes, yes, that is how we manifest things, because you've speaking from a soul into a soul. So there is a record kept for that. So in the next
Wow.
life, you can come to pay for the promises. Like
Wow.
a woman or a man who have disappointed so many partners, probably because of maybe being a play girl or a play man. In the next life, they will play you. So if you are in a given end because somebody was in a receiving end. So in the next
Interesting.
life, you become the receiving end, and another person will be the giving side. So sometimes it's not always about somebody's energy, because this is how witchcraft operates. A witch, a witch, a witch will look at the natural laws that you have disobeyed, which means you must have done something in a past life that is against the natural law. So what they do is they pick from those law. And now when they are speaking about you, when they are projecting it to you, they count these laws that anyone amongst this law you have failed, their charm will hold you. So without that, no witch can ever have energy or power over you, because witch is mental.
Yeah, of course.
It is mental. So in other words, unknowingly to you, you opened the door for it. Why? Because you have failed in natural law. So if you look at what religion have done to people, religion gave us only 10 of those laws. while it is
Mm-hmm.
42 of them.
Okay.
In a natural African setting, this law is 42, and
Mm-hmm.
bad there are some bad spiritualists that when you go for them to work for you, these laws they remove some while performing
Mm-hmm.
spiritual work for you. They remove some. Why? Because them themselves are not they are not guided by this law. What I mean by this is they are not obeying those laws.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
whoever they
I
want
think
to
a lot of
work for,
people don't even know what they're doing, to be honest, or they find it. And the reason why I say that respectably, honestly, guys, why I say, let me tell you, I mentioned this on my last live with Idika. I think I touched on it. There's a lot of impersonators, and it's very unfortunate that at least 4 days a week, 3 days a week, I have people come into my inbox claiming to be these type of people. I'm a witch. I want to read you. It's very attractive now for everyone to call themselves a
yes,
witch. What is going on? Let's touch on that before we go on. Why do you think so many people? I mean, all over, whether you're white, black, whatever country, I have them. Even today in my inbox, I'm a reader. I'm a this. There's so many people. But let's start with that. Why do you think it's so attractive now for people to proclaim to be a witch, when back in the day when I was a child, if somebody was a wizard, a priestess, whatever, nobody would know. It's kept very low. No, you're not even supposed to know unless you're going to get work done. Why is it now
yes.
so advertised and there's a lot of fakes out there? What's going on, do you think?
You know, people love it when they are told what they want to hear.
Mm. So
So
that means what, though, in
it's
regards to the
another
question?
room. It's another room to make money. When you're told what you want to hear, it's a room to make money out of you.
Okay. But
So why
nobody,
is
I think, sorry, the reason why I'm asking, my bad for interrupting, just to fine tune why I'm asking you that. With all these modern days impersonators, or someone may even burn one this and say, I'm a witch, I got a shop called witch, whatever, everyone's a witch. Okay. I really feel like a lot, if not most, are not taking into account the vibrational responsibility that comes with.
no people are not taking into account all that like a bad one like let me give you an example. A
Mm-hmm.
shaman who knows light also knows the dark side.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like when you're making a video, you know, and a bad spiritualist stumbles into your video, and if you're not strong when you're making that video, you will start to startle.
You
You
will
lose
start
words.
to you lose your
Startle,
words.
you lose your
Okay.
words. Now, this is what they do. They test you.
So they've come on your live and they've come to test you, is what you're telling me as well.
Yes, they test you.
Really?
So the testing is actually to know your level of vibration.
Wow.
This is what those people are doing. What they are doing is they go to a native doctor who is strong and they collect what some kind of herbs to put in their eyes.
I remember you
So
said,
when they look at your picture, they can intuitively get some of the most important things that you want to hear. So they send it to you. So when you read it, it's kind of a spell because there is something within that you want to hear, even if it's one word. That is what gets to entangle to the message.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's medicine, it's herbs they are using.
Mm-hmm.
But naturally, a shaman will speak from intuition and wouldn't beg you for you to come for consultation.
Every week I've got so many messages. It's non-stop.
I will,
The same
I will
people, the
never.
same people have 5 different accounts asking me the same thing
Mm,
from 5 different accounts.
I will never, as a shaman, send a message to anyone. Do you want a reading? No,
These are
because
readers. These are
the
readers.
oath,
Yeah.
It is against the oath to ask somebody, do you have a reading? Do you
Is
want
that
a
as
reading?
that as a Sherman? But these modern days people who do the cards and stuff, they readers, they come to your inbox every day.
No, those are not, they are not true shaman,
They
because
know,
it's
of course
against
not.
the oath as a shaman to ask somebody if they want a reading.
But every reader is not a Sherman, correct?
No, every reader is not a shaman. Just
Right.
like
So
I
that's probably,
told you,
yeah.
there are
It's a
some
kind of signal.
herbs, like as you are now, there are some leaves I can just get, put them in your eyes, at least for 7 days. You will be like a prophet. You will prophesy everything, but it doesn't last.
Is there consequences for people that do these things and impersonate?
Yes, it affects your consciousness, because it gets you lazy to work on yourself. Instead of working yourself, you rely on the herbs, so it will damage the person's consciousness. It can get some people mad.
You were saying. So let's go back a little bit so I can home in on each category and get the answers for it as well. So in terms of how people can identify if they've had something put on them. Again, I know you can't speak for the masses, but perhaps you have some minor experience or things you've observed of people who, how someone can identify if someone's put a curse on them. And then how can they potentially remove it? Would that be independently with herbs or a bath, or they have to go to a specialist, a spiritualist doctor? Or let's start with how can they identify? You can fine tune that so we can move on to the next part.
Okay, I want to touch something you might recognize very well, and a lot of spiritualities talk about it. And so many people have different perspectives of what it means, but
Okay.
there is something I was spiritually told about that particular information. Now, there is something my spiritual mentor told me about. He said, whenever somebody is projecting some kind of negativity towards a person, that person on the receiving side, the spirit becomes comfortable. Which means at the first 7 weeks, 7 days of the person doing the spiritual projection, the first 7 days, the person on the receiving side will have sleepless night. That is also a way of your spirit telling you something is wrong. Then also, if you're waking up 3 a.m. every time, today you wake up 3 a.m., tomorrow you wake up 3 a.m., next tomorrow you wake up 3 a.m., and you begin to ask yourself, why am I waking up 3 a.m.? That is because there is something happening to your spirit the spirit is not comfortable with. So you
And
become
as a
restless.
disclaimer, that can be the opposite, where there's nothing wrong at all with you, but you're going through an enlightened state, which no one's put spirit on you. So there is room for that. This is why I asked a specific question, because you can have a symptom that means a total opposite. So waking up at 3 a.m. for many in the creative world is because their creative genius is being awoken, and they're creating music, or that's when they like to write their books the most. So I think
Yes.
do you see what, yeah, how could they fine
If you
tune?
if you if you wake up 3 a.m. and you're kind of energetically strong and you're powerful, you are inspired to write anything, that one is normal. But what I'm saying
Right.
is, when you wake up 3 a.m. and you feel like there is something missing within you, there is a feeling you can't be able to do anything. This kind of feeling I'm talking about,
Okay.
you wouldn't be able to do anything. Even if you sit and you want to write, you wouldn't be able to write. You'll be totally restless.
So constant waking up and having this feeling is what you're saying, yeah?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
understood.
And
Mm-hmm.
and when you wake up in the morning, this thing will happen. Like those the type you're talking about, you will have it, and maybe at some time you will sleep back. That one is natural.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
this one, once you wake up 3 a.m., it's going to be like that till the next morning, till
Wow.
you done. So
So,
you're going to have a lot of swollen eyes.
mm.
Yes. Why? Because you're not sleeping.
Oh, and puffy. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Because there's something happening to you that is not normal. It's not normal.
Can you give other things that are quite, see the examples you're giving? The
Mm.
reason why it will be difficult for many to see that as something, although you're right, that could be, but these symptoms, I wouldn't think there's something happening because many people don't sleep. Many people don't, has puffy eyes. So there's always, I mean, I'll give you a prime example. There was I think they're from, no, maybe they're from Congo. They were from Congo. I used to know these previous neighbors. And one of them constantly had this unwellness that could not be detected. And two, I don't know how they met to a reader or something, but they came up with someone put something on her. There was a constant issue that was no doctor can't work it out. No one don't know what's happened to her skin. It's constant. And they worked out somebody done something. So I think we're talking
Mm.
about restless nights, puffy eyes. That wouldn't make someone feel like, oh, someone's done obia on me, as we call it, obia, do whatever you want to call it. I just think if we think of something more tangible, maybe like an illness
You see,
or
most Western people, they don't put eyes in so many things because it is not their culture. You see, in
mm-hmm,
Africa, if you're a
mm-hmm.
witch, you must also know the way other witch operate.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you're having sleepless nights, you are in
Mm-hmm.
trouble. Why? Because your spirit, when it gets tired, it uses sleep to rest. So it doesn't matter when you're sleeping at night or in the afternoon. But when the spirit wants to sleep, it sleeps totally very freely. But this what the one I'm talking about is you can't sleep no matter how you try.
So it's constant insomnia. Yeah.
Yes, constantly it is repeating
Right.
all the
This,
time.
this, I know someone who's going through that. Okay.
So
I'll go on.
it's either from the person is getting it from their work environment or
Hmm.
where they live.
Do you know, let me touch on this. I know someone who struggles to sleep a lot. And the
Okay,
one
it
thing
is.
let me tell you what I said to this person based on their lifestyle. I said to them, based on your lifestyle, one thing I would suggest, this is even as a regular woman, I'm saying, yeah. I said, I do suggest that you look into fasting in terms of sexuality and abstinence because you're going from one woman to another, and you're not treating them highly well. And you take women and where they're coming from for granted. Be careful, oh, be careful.
Mm,
So I know why I
you,
told him this is because do you understand? You're constantly mixing with different women and
mm,
weird things keep happening around certain women that he's around. And I said, you know what? You may need to fast away from women to clear yourself because something's going on here.
you actually told him the greatest truth ever. You know,
Mm-hmm.
women can serve as a bank. What I mean by that is a man can actually go to do some kind of spiritual work from a bad shaman, and
Ah,
after doing the work, they will use it to pay. So, which means they are wearing some kind of energy. So when they wear that energy, you know what they do? They deposit that energy into a woman.
wow. Yeah,
So
energy
now
exchange.
the woman will now serve like a bank. So
Mm-hmm.
what they do is they keep the woman as a friend, but not something very close. They kind of leave you, but whenever they want to sleep with you, they will do that. They will do that.
Mm-hmm.
You feel you are in a relationship with them, but you're not. What
Wow.
they are doing is they are using you to draw energy from other men. So when you're opening to other men, they are drawing energy through you from the other men.
It's so, I mean, I'm not, it's so interesting you say this because obviously, guys, we know someone can be the most holy person, sleeping with one person, one wife, one husband, and it could be that one person that damages you. We understand. But
Yes,
imagine
yes.
if you are going from place, I mean, multiple places in one week, and it's a lifestyle, and you
There are a
can't
lot of
sleep.
evil happening.
Yeah, and you can't sleep. And you don't treat the people you're with highly. And when you're around certain different people, weird things keep happening. That
Yes,
for me is you probably need a spiritual bath, number one. But I think be still and practice, even if it's for that person, I don't think they can go 1 day without it or 2 days without it. So someone like that, I was recommending that you practice some type of, even if it's 2 weeks abstinence and stillness to clarify
yes.
yourself.
That person should be very much appreciative of you because you've told that person a great truth. Even in the present world now, they don't value it. They can use sex to bewitch a person.
Brother, there's a reason why I'm telling you this.
So
Because when,
that
yeah,
person
yeah, that's why I
is
said
very
this.
lucky to have you because what you told
Thank
that
you.
person comes from the spirit. It's not just you speaking.
Because the person called me and I was like, listen,
It's spiritual. That means for you to even think like that, you are a shaman.
in my past life, maybe. That's what Maria said in
Yeah,
my
so
last year. I
yes.
was like,
Do you know that what you told the person within seconds, some people cannot see it in divination.
you know, this person is the most beautiful soul. And they're roaming around, roaming around, roaming around. And I know that jumping from place to place is a distraction from their own spirit. It's not even sexual.
Mm.
Sometimes people have to understand
Yes,
it's not because you want to have sex all the time. That's become a way of
yes.
life.
Mm.
And if you're not treating the people that you're with always well, and you're depositing from place to place and energy exchanging, plus you're not even solid in your own spirit, it's a very
Yes.
dangerous lifestyle.
Mm. That person can be using Peruvian water.
Mm-mm.
For a lot of people,
Caribbean water,
again,
did you say? Or did you say Florida water?
yes, that is what they call Florida
Ah,
water.
okay.
A lot of people don't understand that there is a lot of evil going on now.
Mm-hmm.
Please, when you kick your left foot on a stone, especially when you're going out, maybe somewhere very important, and you know that there is no way you wouldn't have seen that stone, but unconsciously you hit this stone. Is a sign, no?
Wow.
Is a spiritual sign.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, our body tells us things.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's either you're being prevented to go to some certain place, you're going to adopt some negative energy, which is bad for you, or you are going into an accident.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. So thank you for sharing those. I mean, it seems like very brief, but it's very thought evoking what you're saying, you know? So
Mm.
once people can, these are some of the ways that people can identify that something's not right, as you said, the mood, that, you know, certain thing, whether it's, you know, in your expertise, in your experience, I do understand that some work cannot be, you can correct me with what you understand, perhaps.
Mm.
From my understanding now, there is work that we can do independently for ourselves to remove things,
Yes,
but it's also
yes.
work that I know, you can tell me if you can relate to this, that someone is assigned to do for you.
Mm.
And no matter how much you know, it will maybe call someone like you to help remove the issue.
Yes, there are some like that. Like when you go to a hospital and maybe you have a disease, you've been tested so many times, and this disease is not being seen. Somebody must have poisoned the person. Some African
Hmm.
traditional poison cannot be seen in the hospital. Some
Hmm.
of them take 7 years before it start manifesting. So before the
No.
person goes to the hospital, you're not even going the day you took it.
Wow.
That
By
is
that
why
time, is it too late or?
that is why they say African spirituality is evil, because
Hmm.
the knowledge is deep and very dangerous.
If it's misused in the wrong hands, yeah,
Yes,
misused.
if it's misused,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
the poison will be in the body without the person knowing. And
Wow.
you imagine somebody who have lived with the poison for like 7 years, and the person is just going to the hospital. All of the system is already dead. They might see it as cancer, but it's already eating all of the system. So the system, the hospital will say a different thing that is not even related. So they will not see it as a poison.
Mm-hmm.
So that is why most people don't get saved before they are being taken to the hospital. It's already late.
So, in terms of, thank you for sharing that. In terms of self-help, as I just try to fine tune, you
Mm.
know, right now there's information everywhere, and sometimes it doesn't mean we understand what we're even researching, as you know. Understand but not understand, as you said earlier, yeah? Where, for an example, I had my previous live, someone else said they wouldn't recommend anyone to have certain types of spiritual baths unless they had a reading from someone like yourself, yeah, who can let them know what's going on, and you can recommend certain herbs that may be good. So, for an example, I know that according to some people's birthdays, that there's herbs that relate to their birthdays. Like me, maybe rosemary, maybe thyme, whatever. But it doesn't mean in those cases that will be the herbs that you recommend. Is it correct? Yeah. So, how would
Um,
someone? Yeah.
like if I have to be in this life, anything I would recommend is something that will work for everybody.
Are you able to share a couple of the herbs that people can bath with, or is that sacred from your position?
Like now, if you're the person who always go on occasion, you go out with people, and you know you eat too much, you eat a lot. So
Uh-huh.
and because of that, you can resist eating, and somebody can easily poison you. You know it very well. What you do is there is a particular type of palm kernel oil you need to have in
Hmm.
your house.
I'm so glad you spoke about that because I see me, I hardly ever eat from any soul.
It's important because people who
Yeah.
eat anyhow, because there's this adage, my people used to say. They say there is another heart. What
Hmm.
it means is you only understand your own heart. You don't
Hmm.
understand mine.
I'm so
So
glad you spoke about that. It's something my mum always drummed that into me. My dad is not as spiritual, but where we come from, we call it licky licky. That means you discipline yourself. Even if you're starving,
yes,
you eat before you leave the house. Do not eat everywhere you go. You're eating. It's very easy to poison people like that. Very highly.
yes, yes. So I don't know what they call that palm oil. We call it ujuku in my place.
Okay, right.
We call it ujuku. If you have that oil, you will never die of any poison.
Wow, that's
Just
interesting. That's a
just
gem.
whenever you eat anyhow outside, immediately you come back, just lick it. That's all. You will shit it. You shit everything.
So it'll come straight out. Can I tell you a
Everything will
secret?
go.
I think I've heard of somebody, but I think they're St. Lucian or Dominican. And he went to a woman's house. And disclaimer, guys, disclaimer, sometimes people hasn't actually poisoned you. but the vibration they carry, you don't want to eat from them.
Yes.
They can't even
That
touch, what do you
that
call it? They can't even touch your antenna. They can't even touch it.
yes. No, that is the same thing I'm saying, because
Mm-hmm.
whatever wants to happen, your body will tell you. Your body will gossip to you.
Mm-hmm.
Your spirit is the greatest gossip. The spirit will carry within is the greatest gossip we have. That
Mm-hmm.
spirit will gossip anything.
Do you know some people in the Caribbean? Again, I was going to say, I think it's St. Lucia or Dominica. This gentleman went to a woman's house. He thought he was, he was going for dinner. I don't know what made him, his energy changed. And when he left the house, when he was on the doorstep, he took his earwax. I don't know how, I don't think he can even get a lot, but he took as much as he can and he ate it. And where he comes from, he was vomiting all that they put in his food.
The ear oil.
He just felt like something wasn't right. And again, guys, it doesn't mean someone has literally put poison in your food. Sometimes it's vibrationally. I've gone places or salons in the past and I don't even want a particular person to touch my hair because of the energy that they carry. You know,
I had a
that's
call
okay.
coming in, so
That's fine. But yeah, carry on.
so like now, when you step into an environment that is not welcoming to your spirit already knows if something is being planned. Now, this is what they do. You see, when you're practicing African spirituality, you need to be very, very careful, especially when you live in Africa.
Really?
Somebody
Yeah.
who wants to, yes, somebody who wants to poison your food, is not only the food the person has poisoned. They do it in a way that if you escape this one, you will not escape this other one. Why? Because they know that you might have a knowledge of one, and the other one you will not have the knowledge of it. Now, the door you're crossing before you come into that house, there is something on the curtain too. Because the head is important. When your head is lower, that means the spirit is being suppressed. So even when you're eating the thing, your aura wouldn't be able to give you that gossip. Why? Because
Wow.
something you crossed on the curtain is already suppressing you.
So it's like they've already tied you or your mind or something, yeah? But that's the
Yes,
reason
because
why in some Caribbean houses they put garlic or other forms of salt above the door or under the mat
yes,
before you even come in the house.
yes, that one is for their own protection, because your visitor
Yeah,
might have
yeah.
something on them,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody who invites you, you're not familiar with that territory, so that person is higher within their
Mm-hmm.
territory, no matter how conscious you are. That is why you need to elevate yourself in some certain way that when you get to the door, your body gives you sign.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where you see an African traditionalist, they turn their back, they will use back to enter. You go in with your back. Immediately you have that goose pimple, turn around, go in with your back.
Wow. I'm getting goose pimple now when we're talking. I'm feeling it.
That is because what we are talking about is a spiritual thing. So
Mm-hmm.
it connects with the spirit. Even
Mm-hmm.
even when it sounds unfamiliar, you know it because it's
And
ancient.
yeah, yeah. What can I, let me share an experience of you guys, yeah? Very brief experience. And we can go to the comments after. This is the reason why, guys, it's not good. My mom always says, do not envy or be jealous of anybody. From when we were little, she says, you don't know how people got what they got. You don't know what they had to
Yes,
sacrifice to get what they got. Okay? Now, there's a lady, no names mentioned, and she looks like she's doing great in her business and her fashion, all this wonderful work. And I'm a great supporter of her. And she invited me round. To me, it was like, oh, wow, you know, she's inspirational. I'm happy to be there. As soon as I walked in the house, this is not long ago, you know. Yeah. As soon as I walked in the house, I was in awe with how beautiful it was. And I complimented her. Her style is impeccable, one of a
Mm.
kind style. Listen to this. It is the most creative house I've ever been in, even in this one room. But
Wow.
tell me why. And I'm sharing this with you because my spirit is very aware. I felt like in this beautiful house, my eyes were shining, but my spirit was speaking to me. As I sat there, I felt like I was in a dark room. My whole,
Yes.
oh my God, my brother, even now I'm feeling, just
Yes.
telling you. I sat there and I said, maybe it's the lighting because it was very, very dim and I like dim lighting.
Mm.
And I'm like, the whole atmosphere. And I know she said there was like, you know, her relative who guided her was in the picture near me. It had nothing to do with just the picture. I felt as though my world was closing in.
What you experience is the presence of a charm in the house.
Let me explain. Right. Now, this why I went to her house is because she was going through a bad time. I didn't know her well. We'd never been to each other's houses before. And I thought I was going maybe to give support, whatever. And that's not what I was able to give her when I was in that house. Anyway, although I listened. I felt very strange in that house. And she doesn't have bad vibes, but whatever she's going through or was in that house or was taking place was trying to latch itself onto me. And I don't mean, guys, I don't take this lightly. I literally felt when I left the house, as I was walking, in my entire life, I've never left somewhere and felt like there was a fog over my mind. I felt very strange, Adika.
Yes. Yes.
And I
It's
went
not.
home. I went home. I bring out my tools.
Mm.
I felt very strange. I made a call the next day and someone said, don't you, and now my Nigerian friend said, don't you ever go back to the house in your life.
Yeah. Yes. You
And
felt
I
this
felt
presence
strange.
of a strong medicine in that house. It's
Whatever
not
was
your friend.
affecting her, I felt it
It's
when
not your
I,
friend.
no,
It's
that
the
was, she's not a
structure.
friend. She's an acquaintance that I never even been to her house before. And we
Okay.
were not even
It's not.
friends with, yeah.
It's not her. It's the structure itself, the
Because she's
foundation.
going through something that, for an example, that's why you can look at somebody, any one of us, and you don't know what we're going through when the cameras are switched off. You don't know. So behind the
Yes.
scenes, it's a deep separation that is going through, and it's definitely energetically. But I'm not just
Yes.
saying, oh, I went to someone's house and the vibes was off. No, 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 no. This is not me talking about just simple vibes. I felt very
I
peculiar.
I know very well what you're
I
talking
know you
about.
understand. I'm stressing for the viewers. And I walked down the street and I felt like I was open to seeing whatever I was going to see because I felt a very strong spirit that tried to
Yes.
latch. And because I was
Yes.
becoming more aware of my own abilities, I said, okay, I'm bringing out the tools tonight.
Yes. That is why where you live can determine your progress.
Say that again.
Where you live can determine our progress.
Oh my gosh. I left
Because wherever you live, you become.
100%. When I came home, I knew clearly I've never in my 40 odd years ever gone anywhere and felt like that. I've gone into places that look like no one lives there and I felt more at home than a place that was beautiful exterior, but there's a
Mm.
spirit in that house.
People often misunderstand the meaning of a building. When you
Mm-hmm.
look at a building, it's significant. That is why when you see a house in a dream, it's speaking to you. Whenever you see a house in a dream, that is you.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yes, if you see a house in a dream, that is you. Now,
Wow.
when you live under a building,
Mm-hmm.
that means you are embodying the building. So you are the same as the building, just as this body covers the spirit. That is how the building covers you, which means the building is covering your body and the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
That is why if you live in a wrong foundation, you embody it.
Well, just before we go to the comments, thank you for sharing that. But just before we go, because I want to answer this comment very well. Guys, when I came home, I can tell you, this is why I'm stressing the point that what was glittering, my spirit was fighting against the visual. The visual meant nothing. It's like
Yes.
the skin covering your body. But whatever is traumatizing her, I felt as though, had I not been aware and at this stage of my growth spiritually, I would have something maybe had taken over my life. It felt
Yes.
very, very odd. And I came out feeling clouded, which had nothing to do with anything she said or anything like that. And when I was there, for this person that normally is, like I said, she's not a friend of mine. We were becoming friends. We met via media. So it's the first one-to-one interaction we've had off media. Yeah. The conversation, she's speaking to me, and all I could hear was blah, 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 blah. This was not me. I had to leave.
You were not there anymore.
I had to leave. And you know when I left, and I've never
But
felt this
nothing.
before.
What
When
will happen? What was happening to you is not wrong.
when I left, something said to me, if I see her, even if I bump into her, I have to find a way to not actually hug her and exchange, but find a way to show kindness, but don't hug. That I'm a hugger. I'm an actual hugger. So in my
Yes.
life, it's the first warning I had from my spirit saying, don't hug her.
Yes, because when you hug her, what is happening to her will affect it. She needs to leave that place.
Let's read the comments. It's so interesting that you're saying this. It's interesting because my last house, I was there for about 13 years and I thought it was going to be my permanent home. Big, big 3-bedroom house, kitchen, diner, 2 toilets, big house just for me and my son. Yeah. One day I woke up. I said, Mom, I gotta go. She says, what on earth is wrong with you? I said, Mom, I thought this was going to be my future home. Nothing has happened bad in this house, even if I had bad neighbors from before who left. Bad neighbors. I just had this feeling it was time to go. And I've learned to be very loyal to my spirit.
Yes.
And you know what? I came to a house smaller. This house is even too small for me. But I followed the spirit. Something, I had to leave that house. It was time.
Yes. You will see that this present house, you resonate with it.
Oh my God. I love it. It's small, but I'm a lot happier here. Let's go to the comments before we go on.
But before you quickly go, do you
Oh,
know why you
sure.
resonate with it? Because the house was built out of struggle,
Ah, okay.
natural efforts, clean money. There's no
Okay.
karma in the
That's
house.
so interesting. That's so
Yes.
interesting. Okay, so Dominique said most people know when something is on them and know who has done. Okay. When I spoke about the girl, you asked, have you heard from her? I only via social media. Can Adika do face readings? You can after this live, I'm gonna add all of Adika's contacts. Yeah, and make sure. I mean, you can answer that if you want to, Adika, but I'm also gonna add your contacts so people can reach you independently if they want to speak to you. Is that okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So you do face-to-face readings. You're saying he wants to ask. Do you do
Yes, I
face-to-face
do. I
readings?
do. I do palm reading.
Ah, yeah. What did you say again? You said, hang on, where's the comment gone? Bear with me. It's mm, Okay, he says her home sounds like a lot of evil was going on, yeah, from the past, death, It's let me well, yeah, I don't know how to define who I am necessarily at this stage in spirit realm, but from a child, my mom told me that a cousin looked at me and said, when I was a child in the buggy, in the cradle, a cousin looked at me and said to my mom, she's not no ordinary baby, this one. And so for me, from young, I've always been able to sense things and don't have any proof, and things actually happen.
No, you don't need the proof. The greatest proof is your spirit telling you.
Always, always,
That
even when my brother, we wasn't even so brilliantly close. I remember growing up and I was feeling sick, man. And I just somehow, I don't know how I knew it was connected to him. Next minute we heard that he'd been shot.
like now, if you step into for the audience, if you step into a place and your ear starts itching you, it's
Your
also a
ears?
sign. Yes, it's a sign of negative projection.
And they say also your eye, when your eye starts to, is it spasm? And they say
Is
some,
a good That one is a good thing because you're about to see something. It's either something good coming if it's the up eye, but if it's here down, it's not good.
do you see why that's so important that you shared that? And why I always say culturally, it's not going to be the same universally.
Yes.
It's so important. And I'm glad you said the up and the bottom because we've always already known about the top. You see, like
Mm.
culturally, I always say if I lived in Japan, we'd be having maybe a different conversation now because of how I've been
Yes.
raised culturally. So culturally, I'm half Dominican, half Jamaican, not Dominican Republic, guys, Dominica. Yeah. When your eye is convulsing, it's always meant to be something negative. But I'm glad you enlightened with the top and the bottom being from your culture.
Mm.
That's so interesting.
The
I'm glad you said
the
that.
If it's the right eye, the upside is a good thing.
The right side, the up. Okay.
The right side,
Wow.
the up, is a good thing. If it's the downside on the right, is about quarrel. You're going to get into a fight with somebody.
Oh, wow. Okay. So before we kind of wrap it up a little bit, there's one more thing I want to touch on, and please feel free also, Vika, if there's anything else that you want to add before we close the show, and something that we may have missed that you really want to express. I know I've gone back to go forward, but for those people who switch on social media and all they're hearing is spiritual, spiritual, crystals, it's full of so much information. What would you say would be the beginners? I know you can't make someone a certain way. It's either in you or not, or you want to develop or you don't.
Mm.
You can't say, oh, okay, now you're spiritual. I hit you over the head. You're spiritual. Even though I think that we're
Mm.
all born of spirit, but not everybody's activated. And there's different levels. Yeah.
Mm. Yes,
So,
yes.
in your opinion, for those who feel like, yeah, maybe I've got a little bit, I want to be a bit more spiritual, or I want to enhance. Now, let's talk about the beginners part. How can you give any advice for those who is at the beginning of even accepting that they are a spiritual being and how they might want to enhance their spirituality? Can you give any tips? Let's start there. Let's be as brief as we can. I want to
Um,
cover a few things before we close the live.
for the beginners,
Mm-hmm.
never
Beginner's guide to
ignore.
spirituality. Hmm.
For the beginners, never ignore shadow work.
That part we didn't speak on, did we? We didn't get on that. Let's do that. Okay.
Yes.
So never
Never.
ignore shadow work. Okay, so then
Yes.
touch on for us what shadow work means.
Okay. Shadow work is the shadow of the adult we have become.
Mm-hmm.
And the shadow of that adult is the inner child because we are still a
Mm-hmm.
child. The word adult is just an adoption because the head we were bettered with is not cut off. We still carry
Mm-hmm.
the same head, which
Mm-hmm.
means there is a child inside somewhere.
Mm.
That is why somebody can hurt you. Why? Because you are a child. You are a child. You are childlike.
Everyone has a childlike side. So in terms of elaborating a little bit more on shadow work,
Hmm.
okay, now you kind
So
of tell
that
us a bit about what that process looks like or is.
yes, the process is about self-truth. That self-truth is about realizing that the child is being hurt all over the years since you were growing up. There is some anger you're holding up, which have grown
Mm-hmm.
into trauma,
Mm-hmm.
from parents hurting us, relationships, and all that. There are a lot of women who went through a lot of hard time when they were kids, and there are a lot of men
Mm-hmm.
who went through a lot of hard times when they were kids. So
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't come to a point where you need to sit down with this child and begin to heal all this trauma, it's going to affect us in the future, even when we are already spiritual,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
because that child is very, very important to be healed. The child is what activates the inner consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
That child
So,
is what carries the vibration. Without the child, we wouldn't become. So the
so what
child
we're
needs to
touching
be
on here.
released of all the heavy load.
Okay. Okay. So, guys, what we're touching on here at this point, as we slowly wrap up the live, we've gone, for those who's just joined, welcome. We've gone from speaking of when you know that someone's put a curse on you, how people remove it, to grounding from water to sand grounding and having your feet in the earth. And now, just to mention a few, yeah. And now we're talking about my last kind of question of the evening was, for the beginner's guide of spirituality, where would someone start? And Adika here is talking about, well, the first thing is to get into shadow work and start to look at yourself from your adult perspective to the inner child. Yeah?
Yes. So
Okay.
the child, that is when we speak about self-love, it's very much connected to that, because you need to
Mm-hmm.
give that child the love you think you've lacked, because nobody is
Mm-hmm.
actually responsible to give you that love. So
Mm-hmm.
it comes a time you need to start giving back the love into the child.
Do you know? Let me share this with you. I'm so glad you touched that note. I used to have, I'm mates of her now, but I met this wonderful woman at my previous work. And we always have very deep sister talks. And she said, you know something, Silva? You need to be more gentle on yourself sometimes. And she said, a wise woman once told her to learn how to rock the baby within. Oh my God, I nearly cried when she said that. It struck me to my soul. And now I hold on to that. When I remember her when she says, we need to know when to rock the baby within.
That is the greatest love ever.
Ah,
Like, how do you rock the baby with it? Telling your truth.
telling your
So,
truth,
yes,
accepting, whether it's abandonment issues, whether that's forgive.
yes.
You know what? I'll tell you this now, guys, yeah?
Rejection, even rejection.
Rejection, rocking the baby within also comes with forgiving yourself for things that, we can
Yes,
live a fantastic life. And it's always, even me, there's always that one thing that would bother you for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and learning how to have the art of self-forgiveness. We forgive everybody else
yes.
so
That
so
forgive
easily.
that forgiveness is very, very important, because even when we
Mm,
pronounce even when we pronounce it with mouth, I have forgiven, we haven't really forgiven, because the pain is
hmm.
still there.
Yeah.
Some people get to carry the pain for years.
Forever.
Yes. So it's important to release. So understanding the inner child is also understanding what triggers the child,
Yes. 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 Yes.
and
Yes.
being in control of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Well,
normally,
go on.
go
My
ahead.
bad. Go on. No, you go. It's okay,
Okay.
my love.
Normally, we are not supposed to get angry when somebody
Ah.
upsets us. You're getting angry because there is some truth in that. That is why you're being triggered.
I don't think it's always true why people are triggered. We've got to remember, let's expand it on a counseling level now, or psychology
Okay.
level, yeah? And there's truth in what you said, but let's expand that. Sometimes you're not even triggered because there's any truth in it. Some people are triggered so much because it's a lie. Yeah?
Like now, I might come now trying to do
Mm-hmm.
something, and you say, probably what I'm doing is starting to irritate you. You know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, like if you're a spiritual person, you need to understand that people can act from their own trauma.
Oh my gosh, yes. Transference. They
So,
call it
so
transference.
it
Yeah.
is not your responsibility to react, but to understand that they have something they also are going through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But when people are
So
triggered,
when
it's not always because there's truth in what they've said. It could be something total opposite. It could be, let's say I'm always accusing you of stealing from me. You stole my
yes,
potato. You stole my potato. There's no truth in it. But maybe you get so annoyed you push me because you're sick of hearing me.
mm, like my elders will say, be the matured one. Being the
Oh,
matured one is being the spiritual one.
and be the bigger person, as they say a lot in the UK.
Yes, the
Mm-hmm.
one who sees the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
So,
when you are the bigger one, you're seeing from a different perspective.
so
So
what's
you're
your thoughts
seeing,
then? What's your
go,
thoughts on this on this new age thinking, which is
mm,
matching energy? A lot of us talk about that on, you see a lot of posts, which means if you treat me bad, I treat you bad. I don't always believe in matching energy, but there are times that I think it's appropriate.
yes, that is what makes you spiritual, to use
Mm-hmm.
your masculine when it's needed. That is the masculine
Mm-hmm.
aspect of you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why? Because you need to protect yourself also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there comes a time where the protection comes in. Now,
Mm-hmm.
somebody who is not working this spiritual path will use that masculine all the time. Why? Because
Okay.
they are going through a trauma that is triggering the masculine to be present all the time. Why? Because all their life they have used it to protect themselves.
Mm. And that's what I call living in survival mode. I'm going to do a talk about that, where we're
Yes,
constantly
yes,
living in survival mode. And I can relate to
yes.
that. It's very exhausting. You want to be able to live in overcoming mode, not survival mode all the
Yes,
time.
yes,
It's
that
a
is
lot of
what I'm
fuel.
saying.
It's a lot of fuel, like having a car that you're revving the engine constantly. It's not
Yes,
healthy.
walking above it. We need to be
Yes.
walking above everything.
Hmm. Yes. And half the time,
Not.
guys, sorry, I just say what I've realized, guys, is a lot of the time where you feel like you're battling your father, your mother, or your children, the battle is within you, ultimately.
Yes, that is what I'm saying, because
Hmm.
what you're seeing in another is a reflection of your own unhealed side. That is what I was saying, because
That's what I know. Yeah.
you're not supposed to be triggered of anything. All you need to
Hmm.
do is protect yourself
Hmm.
when is
Hmm.
needed. When
Hmm.
the need comes, you protect yourself. It's not bad. It's not a
Do
bad
you,
thing.
so do, are you, would you say that you've quite mastered your triggers then? Have you quite mastered it, or do you still feel like there's areas where,
I'm
you
I'm
know,
I'm the greatest hot tempered person. I can be anything. That is what
well, number one, you're
spirituality
from
is about.
Nigeria and you're not a fire. Yeah. But so if you, and you can't mess, I'm going to, look, Nigerians get upset when I say this and Jamaicans get upset when I say this.
Mm.
There is a similarity between Nigerians and Jamaicans that I often see, even if they can't see it themselves. Yeah.
Almost all the Caribbean, Trinidad and Tobago, all of
From
them,
Nigeria.
they are Nigerians.
And you can't, I mean, I know you have a lot of mild people in every country, but don't play with them, you know. Jamaica, even Trinidad, people from Trinidad, they're very fierce.
Mm.
So
Me,
to contain your energy, I'm wondering,
yes.
like, So are you still working on shadow work? It's an everyday process, really, isn't it? To be honest, it's a lifetime
It never
process.
ends. It's a
Yeah.
lifetime thing. It never
Hmm.
ends. But the thing is, be in the consciousness that knowing that people must be people.
That's where I'm at. That's
But
where I'm at. Hmm.
even though they are being people, you will also have to be yourself without even caring
Hmm.
how you will be judged.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because probably no matter what, you will be judged. So
Hmm.
even though your action is mild, you will be judged. Even the way you perceive the action from another person is kind of aggressive, you will still be judged.
Hmm. Hmm.
But the thing is, express your spirit. If your
Hmm.
spirit tells you to speak and express yourself, do that. Don't hold it back. If you hold it back,
That's if your
it
spirit and not the flesh, the
yes,
ego,
you have to
right?
listen. Yes, because
Yeah.
the spirit doesn't speak in anger.
Hmm.
But there
Never.
is
You say
soft
never? Never? No, never.
no, it's not never. It doesn't speak in anger, but not all the time.
Hmm.
Because there are some people when they see you come, they kind of take advantage of that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So you need to, that is where protecting yourself comes in. You need to also show them that, yeah, I can protect myself.
Okay, so as we bring it to a close and understanding, as my last question of the evening was, the beginner's guide to spirituality, and you said, I think the most important thing, which is get into shadow work, start there,
Mm.
you
There
know.
is something I wanted to give the people before I forget about
Please do, yeah.
cleansing your house. Probably if your house feels like because if your house is filled with negative energy, because this is something we need to be mindful of. We can carry negative energy, toxic energy from working place, from marketplace, and will come to the house to dump it.
Wow.
So when
Yes.
you're dumping all those energy in the house, remember where you live, you become.
Mm-hmm.
So we need sea salt, we need garlic, and we need Peruvian water.
And the Peruvian water is another word for Florida water, yeah?
Yes, Florida water. So what you need to do
Mm-hmm.
is get the juice of the garlic, put it inside a spray bottle, mix it with the sea salt and the Florida water. Garlic is
Mm-hmm.
very good for warding off negative energy. And imagine
Mm-hmm.
when garlic comes with sea salt and ocean water.
Whew.
It's powerful. You
So
can use it to clean the
for
house.
those who don't
You
know,
can
I've never used Florida water yet. Can you tell us a little bit more about Florida water before we close the live? I know of it, but I've never tried it
Florida
yet.
is extracted from ocean water.
Mm.
Yes, it's ocean water. But they added some kind of it has ethanol in it. They added
And where can
ethanol.
people get this? Online?
Yes, you
No.
can get it in spiritual shops.
Hmm.
Just go to a spiritual shop, you can get it. You
And
know.
that's what you use yourself, so you recommend that.
Yes, I have it. I have it here at home.
Hmm.
I have
Okay,
it. So for
that's
people
amazing.
who want to clean off negative energy from their house, you can use this mixture to mop your house. You can even spray it. You can
So
use it to
you can
bake.
spray yourself as well.
Yes, you can just like
Hmm.
on
Hmm.
your hair. Even it's very important for your hair. It will help energize the hair, especially when it's locked. You know, the
And
hair is a
I
living
love it
thing.
when you say on the last live, guys. I tried to trick Adika. I could be talking about words and power. So I tried to trick him in a nice way, and I said, "What do you call your hair?" Because I thought he was going to say dreadlocks, and I was going to say, "Why use the word dread, which is dreadful?" But he never fell for my trick. He said, My hair is my antenna. Oh my God. I loved it. These are my antennas. You call it your tree, your bushes. And I really loved how you used it as antennas.
That is your forest.
Oh,
Is your antenna.
I love it that you said that. Now I'm going to use that because I love it so much.
Yes,
Yeah?
that is an antenna. You know, when you spray
Spiritual
it to
stuff.
take care of it, it's kind of energize the hair because it's a
Mm-hmm.
living thing.
Well, you see mine.
That is why, yes, that your hair
Mm-hmm.
within your lifetime, this hair can grow taller than you.
Yeah, I've cut a lot because of breakage, but we got a journey. We got a journey. Well, listen, it's been an amazing live, and if I've missed anything, I know that you're gonna have to be a permanent speaker here whenever you got time. Clearly, yeah, because people have stayed with us, even if it's 4 people, they're still staying with us after all this time. Is there? I mean, I know you said about the Florida water. Let's have a see what someone's saying. Yeah, you always keep the water and you can get it from spiritual shots. Thank you very much. Well, guys, help me thank this gentleman so much
Uh,
for coming. This is his part 3 talk. He's come
Sorry to cut you
consecutive
off.
weeks. Yeah.
There is a plant. I just remembered now. There is a
Oh,
plant you mentioned in our last live strong back.
yes.
Yes, I checked it in my dialect
What
and
is it?
I found it. I have to look it up. When I look it up, I saw the flower. I know it.
So it's real, yeah? See,
Yes,
yeah?
in my dialect, it's called the loose woman.
That's not fair. That's not
Because,
fair.
you know, it's
Trust
taken
Nigeria,
from the
I beg.
flower.
Really?
Yes, it's taken from the flower because the flower looks like a woman's private part.
So you call the thing loose woman?
Yes, we call it the loose woman. It's not, I'm just telling
Wow.
you what it means in my language because if
That's
I speak it in my
amazing.
language, you wouldn't understand what I'm saying. But in English, it's called
Mhm.
the loose woman.
Thank you for that, because I watched back all my live talks. So I'm also going to take note of the things Herb you said to me, and I'm going to find the translation. So thank you for
Yes,
that.
yes.
Adika, you have been amazing. This is your part 3. You've taken so much time and shared with me and shared so much enlightenment. Occasionally I challenge. It's only because I think it can expand us and different cultures and give different understanding. But ultimately, I respect you highly, and I've
Thank you.
appreciated. Yeah, I've appreciated our talks. I will continue to follow and support your page. Hopefully, you do mine. But I need to have you back in the near future, even if it's a couple of months from now.
Anytime,
Yeah.
anytime,
Okay, and if
anytime.
you feel like even before I come and find you, you may say, knock, 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 Silva, I've got something I want to talk about. Sort me out the life. Then you can come on whenever you want.
Okay,
Yeah?
no problem.
Thank
Sure.
you so much, Adika. Peace and
Thank you.
love. Namaste.
Thank
Feel
you
free
so
to
much.
exit the
Thank
live.
you.
You're
Thank you,
welcome.
everyone.
Wow. Oh my gosh, spirituality is my most favorite conversation. I love it. I get so excited and so filled. I feel like I've had a massive meal. I feel, energized. Thank you so much, Adika. We appreciate you. And guys, thank you for rocking with us this long. Yeah. Thank you very much, Dominique. Thank you very much. And there's anyone watching this live now, viewers, and anyone who's going to watch the playback, if you have anything you want to share, whether it's your life story, a situation, makeup, breakup, I don't care what it is, any topic goes as long as it flows. Inbox me, schedule a live, chit chat with Silva. I'll make it happen. Yeah, my lives are on Wednesdays and Fridays, 8 p.m. And today is definitely very exclusive because I normally have it from 8 till 9 or 8 till 10 if it's great. At this point, it's 8 till 11:40 something. So that's how much I'm enjoying this live. All right, guys, have a delicious night. Thank you so much.